In 2013, DC started their own cinematic universe to rival the MCU. No, not that one. The DC animated movie universe is actually quite good, and also a mouthful, so DCAMU it is. Not much less of a mouthful, but better. Starting in 2013 with Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox, DC released 15 loosely connected animated films focusing on their biggest stars, and they're all honestly pretty good. But as with any interconnected universe, the best order to watch these films in isn't exactly clear, which is why I've made this video. Let's get started on the most underrated cinematic universe. Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox is a weird starting point, but everything does start here. The Flash goes back in time to save his mom from being killed by his arch-nemesis Reverse Flash, but ends up breaking the timeline, creating a dystopia where all the world's heroes are gone and or also evil, and also Atlantis and the Amazons of Themyscira are at war with each other. Like, Batman is a brutal killer, Superman is locked in a government facility, Wonder Woman is trying to commit a genocide. This won't make 100% sense if you don't know who any of these characters are, but pop culture osmosis should suffice, especially since next movie is a more standard introduction. This film is just too important to not go first. Justice League War is the film that follows, with the 2014 movie seeing the Justice League get together for the first time to fight the invading forces of Darkseid. While the film still expects some pop culture osmosis knowledge, everybody gets a good introduction sequence that introduces their character well. There isn't a lot of deep character arcs, but there are plenty of fun interactions between the non-stop action. After that, Batman deals with his own problems for a bit, and by a bit I mean a whole trilogy, centering around Batman's relationship with the ninja assassin son he didn't know he had. That son, Damian Wayne, becomes Batman's partner and son of Batman, and their growing relationship is the focus of both Batman vs. Robin and Batman Bad Blood, as Damian tries to maintain his autonomy while becoming a good person, and also not being murdered by the veritable armies of ninjas he keeps having to fight. Batman vs. Robin is probably the best of the trilogy, but the others are good as well. Damian will continue to be important, but he sits out the next film, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. More of a sequel to Justice League War, this film shows us what a heroic version of Aquaman would look like, as opposed to the murder version from Flashpoint Paradox. Damian and Nightwing even get their own little short film alongside this called Nightwing and Robin, but it's not important. Really, this film's purpose is to refocus the Justice League before the next film, Justice League vs. Teen Titans. I bet you can guess what happens in this one. In reality, this film is an origin story for the Teen Titans, as Damian continues to forge his own path by teaming up with other teen heroes and forming his own identity outside of being Batman's son. The big bad is Trigon, Raven's dad, and he's actually pretty threatening here. The rest of the Titans are also a blast, and this film does eventually deliver on its premise. The Teen Titans continue into their own standalone film, Teen Titans The Judas Contract, an adaptation of every writer's favorite Teen Titans storyline, Judas Contract. Damian gets to keep his character arc going, but the rest of the Titans get even more time in the spotlight, making for a very well-grounded film as they battle the assassins Slade and the army of Hive. Suicide Squad Hell to Pay sees a bunch of supervillain criminals trying to get a literal get-out-of-hell free card for their boss, and it's unironically the best DCAMU film. This is due to the interesting characters who will have clashing motivations and how their personalities clash and form alliances over the course of the film. It's also an out-of-left-field sequel of Flashpoint Paradox that somehow works super well. I would recommend watching this movie if nothing else. Batman Hush and Wonder Woman Bloodlines are standalone films about, well, Batman and Wonder Woman. Hush sees Batman fight a bunch of supervillains as he tries to solve a murder, while Bloodlines sees Wonder Woman adapt to man's world as she tries to save her home island of Themyscira from being destroyed by a team of villains. They're both solid films, Bloodlines is better, but don't add much to the overall narrative. Following those two is a Superman duology, Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman, featuring, the death of Superman and the efforts of those trying to take his place. Both films are really good, with just enough appearances from the Justice League to make it feel connected without taking away from Superman's story. Darkseid also shows up in Reign, drawing us ever closer to the universe's finale. Like Hell to Pay, I'd recommend giving these two films a watch regardless of if you watch the rest, because you can just jump in and enjoy the exploration of what it means to be Superman. Before the big finale is Justice League Dark, which sees Batman recruit a team of magic users, led by John Constantine, to battle mystic threats. This film gives the Justice League one last chance to show their heroism before the finale, but this film really goes through because Constantine is basically the main character of the finale, so these two films are his arc. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is that finale, showcasing the final battles between the assembled heroes of Earth and the armies of Darkseid. This is a darker film than all the previous, but it has plenty of callbacks to the rest of the franchise and makes excellent use of a number of character arcs, mainly Batman, Superman's, Damian's, Raven's, and Constantine's. It also ends with an explicit callback to Flashpoint Paradox, making the entire universe come full circle. And that's the DC animated movie universe. Most films here are pretty good, with these in particular being the standouts. I've been Raven Try, and happy watching.